Okay, so tonight we are going to look at using your 6x6 layouts and or your 6x6 paper pads on 12x12 layouts. I never was a fan of 6x6 pads, and then all of a sudden in the last year I've really fallen in love with them. And the nice thing about 6x6 is that they're usually fairly inexpensive, easy to come by. They ship relatively inexpensively, and you usually get 3 or 4 pages of each pattern in the pack for usually under $10. So they're very affordable, but I am one of those people who really likes to do 12x12 layouts. So I wanted to show you guys how you can take those 6x6 patterns, those 6x6 pads, and make gorgeous layouts out of them. So that's the topic for tonight. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about layering. I always get people asking questions about layering and how do you do it and how do you keep layouts flat if you intend to put them in your page albums, which this particular layout is relatively flat. There's a lot of really nice thick, there's a lot of layers, but the layout itself is relatively flat except for this part right here. And honestly, I would just glue this down if I was going to put this into a layout. Just take some time and glue it down a little more, but I don't really care if it gets smashed or not because that kind of adds to the effect. So we're going to go ahead and go through our supply list really fast so that it's recorded for people. I didn't write it on the blog post. I got a little bit lazy last night, but I started out with one of the things I want to talk about is if you do decide you want to do 12x12 layouts, I highly recommend, 6x6 pads with 12x12 layouts, I highly recommend buying some really good neutral patterns as your base. So I really like, this is the script pad from Prima, and it comes in a 12x12, but it has like 4 of each print, and it's really kind of 12 of each print because it gives you this in like 3 or 4 different colors. So it's this pattern with 3 or 4 different colors, or one of the trendy things is just solid colored cardstock in the background. That's been the trend in the last year or so. So it really helps, like I said, with storage and cost, especially if you're paying for things to be shipped, and you get more variety for the money. So tonight I'm really focusing this year on using up some of the supplies I've purchased and I've got a huge investment in, and one of them is the Prima Almanac line. It came out last year. It's gorgeous, or maybe even the year before, but it was one of my all-time favorite Prima layout or paper collections. I bought it in 6x6. I also bought it in 12x12. That's another thing I typically do is I'll buy things in 12x12. If I really like them, I'll buy them in 6x6 and 12x12 because the patterns are usually reduced, so you get some really neat things that you can fussy cut and die cut and make doilies and things like that out of. The patterns are miniaturized, so they are really gorgeous for layering and things like that. So like this is like super cute little, and it's ATC size whenever it's on the 12x12 sheet. So super adorable. Love these types of things. So we're going to work with that. And then I also have these tea time journaling cards, and I want to show you how you can take and mix and match things from your stash. Maybe they're not the same collection of things, but by going and looking at your color palette, you can mix and match things together even if they didn't belong together. And this is really easy to do when you stick with the same company, because the patterns are typically made by the same designer, so they have the same type of styles. For tonight, I'm going to use some of the journaling out of the Tea Time collection. Was it the Tea Time? I don't know. I pulled Tea Time out because I wanted to show how well that really goes with Almanac. Look at how gorgeous that is. And that's a totally different Prima collection. So that's from Tea Time. And then I also have pulled these are the Resist canvases from Prima, and the product number on that is 551612. And these are, I'm not sure which collection they're from, but that's why I gave you the number, because it doesn't really say if they are from a specific collection. But if I had to guess, let me see. If I had to guess from the packaging, I would say these are, well, I really don't even know. It doesn't say. It doesn't have a name on it. So the item number for these resists, if you like them, is 551612. So there's that one. And then I've pulled out some twine. And then I've also pulled out these Prima flowers. And these are the Pierrot B. And it's item number 562090. So they're black with little rhinestones in the center. Love these. Hi, Sandy. Glad you made it. Guys, make sure you introduce yourselves if you're new. I am looking up at the chat every now and then. And then I've just pulled out a script stamp that I had in my stash. Just pull whatever you have out. I decided to go with script because my background paper has a lot of scripts in it. You could use music paper or anything. And then I've also gone through my stash and pulled out, when I have like scraps, I usually make doilies, or I die cut them like crazy. I've got boxes and boxes of die cuts. So what I typically do when I'm making up a kit is I'll find my 12x12 paper, my 6x6 pads, go ahead and find a flower selection, some twine or ribbon or lace, and then I also, start looking for embellishments that I can use for layering, such as these resists. I like to keep it with neutral patterns. Like this has a lot of birds, chair, little filigrees, and flowers and things like that. They're very neutral and go with any collection that you have. Then I start pulling out my doilies. So in this case, these are not the perfect cuts of doilies. And hi, Beating Jules. Hi, Julia. Hi. So these are the not so perfects that were cut, and the reason I hang on to these is because when you're layering and tucking, the not so perfects are perfect for that, because you don't see the whole thing anyway. You're going to tuck it in. So these are like, this was the edge of the sheet of paper, and I just cut out half a doily. You're going to tuck it, so it doesn't matter if you cut the whole thing out. Hi, Lynn. And then on this side, this is a doily that's made by Do Crafts. Flamingo Scraps had them in the store for a little while last year. I love this doily. It's so gorgeous. It's a heart, but I've also kept all of these little hearts that die cut out are the hearts that you see scattered on the page like confetti. So yes, I keep those little pieces like that. And I have them here in a little baggie. And then I've also taken some of this washi tape and put it on a piece of scrap paper, and then I die cut it with an MFT die, which looks like this. It's the banner die. I love this. When I'm buying dies, I look for things that are neutral, like flowers, banners, things that I can cut in all my scraps. It doesn't matter what scrap you cut with it, it always is going to look fabulous. And this one right here it was like $5, I think, and I got 3 of them, because that way I can line them up on my board and cut them all at one time. So, and I love it because it cuts a large pennant and a small pennant, so you can either layer it or you could do them, so that you have irregular sizes. So I used this die. And then I've also pulled out, I love hymnal pages. I bought these at a church garage sale. So these are some that I had die cut for another project, and we are going to use up some of these little remnants on the page tonight. And in the same respect as those, I have also pulled out a doily that I cut with the hymnal page. Now, because this paper is very old and fragile, it didn't cut out all the way, and it's torn and tattered in some places, but that's the look I'm going after tonight. So again, imperfection makes things, I think, in my opinion, it makes things look more interesting. And then I've also just pulled out some regular cake doilies that you can get at most department stores, They're everywhere. They're usually under $1, dollar store quality. Yay. And these are the 6-inch doilies. So then I've also, let me put all this back so that I don't get it messed up. I've also pulled out some double stick tape. This is the foam adhesive from Scotch. And I also have some score tape, and I have a large piece of black chipboard here that I may end up mounting my layout on in the end. And then I have my Prima tool, the distressing tool. And then as far as inks go for tonight, I've pulled out the Ranger Archival Ink in Coffee, Antique Linen Distress Ink, Walnut Stain. And then I've also got some Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Gold. That is essential as far as I'm concerned. I absolutely love it. I put it on everything. And then the Perfect Peach Glimmer Mist, as well as the Peppermint Stick Glimmer Mist, and the Wheatfields Glimmer Mist, which I think this color has been discontinued, and it's going to break my heart because this is my all-time favorite go-to brown. I love it. And then a distress tool, some mono adhesive, and my Stella pen. So that's what I have out on my desk tonight. That's what we're going to be working with. I think I kicked my camera back, so I'm a little out of frame. Let me see if I can get it to come closer a little bit. So does anybody have any questions on the products that we're going through tonight? Oh, and I have some seam binding out too, because we're going to go ahead and work on that too. So for those of you who are new to the show, welcome, welcome. And I do things a little different than most people do. I do all my wet mediums first, and then I come back. Oh, Lynn, if you have to leave, I am recording. It's already hit record. So don't worry about that. Okay, so what I do is I like to do my wet mediums first so things have time to dry before I have to use the heat gun. I try to avoid the heat gun at all costs. This is the layout that we're going to make tonight. It came together really simply. So, oh my goodness. Okay, the question on the board is the Wink of Stella as good as I've heard? Honey, it's crack. I'm not kidding. I've gone through 2 of these since Christmas. Here's the thing about it. You know the Starlight pens from the jelly pens that have the glitter, that's the really fine clear glitter? That's what this Wink of Stella is. But it has this brush tip. See the brush tip? See the brush tip? Honey, I have colored everything. 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 We'll go over photo sizes when we cut it down. My photo is going to be like, I think 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, or 3 by 3. So yes, these Wink of Stella pens are amazing. It took me a minute to figure out how to get it started, but once I got it started, it was pretty cool. There's a little black, you have to pull this apart. There's a little black piece that keeps it from activating the ink into the well in shipping. You have to remove that, and then once you do that, then you can use it just like a paintbrush, and oh my goodness, it is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want one in every single color. So hint hint zig, I want one in every single color. But I went, they're fairly expensive, but I went ahead and bought the clear one because I felt like the clear would go with anything. I love them. Everywhere I go, they're sold out. They're always sold out. I absolutely love it. So I'm always like, I have an extra clear one because I don't want to ever run out of the clear. They're just gorgeous. Okay, so enough about that. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out the orientation of my paper on this particular piece. This is the like I said, the Prima script stack, and the back side of it is white, but the stock is a really nice heavy stock. So what I'm going to do is I have my walnut stain, and I also have my antique linen here, and my distress tool, and I'm going to go ahead and start inking up this edge. And I'm just haphazard with it because I'm going to rip it, but the reason I ink it first is because I want this color to show through after I after I rip it. So I find it's easier to do it before you rip it than it is after. So we're going to go ahead and do that really quick first. And I'm not worried so much about technique on this. I mean, most people would be like, oh, that's horrible, you can see the streaks. It doesn't matter because you're not going to see it. This is the back of the layout. All I really wanted was that color to be here on this edge before I start ripping, because I am going to rip. Then I'm going to take my antique linen and I'm just going to kind of rub it around the edge of the front because it kind of matches the color that I've chosen for this in this paper a little better than the walnut does. The walnut I want for depth. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to take my Prima tool and I'm going to start ripping. And you don't want to saw on your mat, because if you do that you will actually tear your mat up. So just start pulling like this. And while you can still see the white of the core, when this starts folding up, I can see that walnut stain right here. I mean, it's probably not showing up too well on camera, but you can still see it. And it gives just that extra little bit of color. And I don't care so much that this is ripping up. That doesn't matter to me. I love that look. In fact, my daughter says that's kind of my signature thing, is to rip the edges of all paper that I use, because that's what I like. To me, it's girly grunge at its finest. So on this Prima tool, if you just run it from side to side like this, you get this nice torn edge that's smooth. But if you take it and you rip it across, it'll tear it a little bit and give you that nice depth. And I just let it happen where it happens. And now I know some of you are probably asking, what in the world is she going to do with two of these same layouts? Well, I probably am going to give one to Little Tyke's mama. Okay, so let's see here. This side's ripped. I really want this side to be ripped up some more too, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my antique linen now, and I'm going to really get in here and really, now that that's roughed up, pull that color down onto the paper. And that's going to help to bring your eye in on the layout and give your eye, it's kind of like in a photo when the edges are dark or vignetted is the term. That's kind of what we're doing right now. We're taking and putting the focus back towards the center of the layout, away from the edge. We're drawing your eye towards the center. And since the antique linen is so light, it's a very subtle difference, but I can guarantee you if I were to hold this up to another sheet of that same paper, you would totally see it. And sometimes it's those subtleties that can make or break your layout. I mean, I think that paying attention to the smallest of detail is so important. It's those little tiny details that really help your eye to settle. Okay, now I am going to rip, got this stuff all over me, let me put this down. I am going to rip open this layout right here and pull it down some. So I really want to make sure I have this area right here good and inked. So I'm going to flip it over, and where I've ripped it, I'm going to use that as my guide. Sorry, I bumped the camera, so it's going to refocus. Sorry. So I'm just going to take my distress tool, and kind of where it's flat, I'm just going to rub it right there on the edge. And then I'm going to take, and I really want that to be dark right there on that edge. So when I pull it back, you really see that color. Okay, I think that's good enough for right now. And I can always come back to with my ink pad and just rub it right around those edges just to darken them up even more. Now it's time for our do some of our misting. I know I want to put, I have like a visual line right here that's already put into the paper. You guys see it? So I'm going to kind of follow that same sort of line, and I want to stick to maybe the bottom 2/3 of the layout. So my cluster of layering is going to happen down in this bottom corner, and I want my sprays to come out and be really soft all around that, so that they have that effect of that vignetting coming all the way around. But I don't want this stuff to get any of the misting on it. So I have a trick that I want to show you guys. I'm going to start out by taking my doily and cut it in half, because I really only need half of it. And I'm going to lay it, because I want it to have the color on it. So I'm going to lay it right here where I want to protect against, I don't want any misting up through here. I just want it to be kind of concentrated down in this area. And then I also want to do it again down in this area. Okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the top half, and I'm going to take this piece of paper. This is just a piece of scratch paper that I have, and I'm going to hit it with water, and the water is going to keep it soft and keep these mists from collecting up to and being too concentrated. Then I'm going to take, this is my Glimmer Mist Peppermint Stick, which is my darkest color, and I'm going to come up really high. Hang on, I have an advertisement popping up, and I don't understand why. Let me just exit that. I'm going to pull this up really high, and I'm protecting the lower half of the layout. I'm going to pull it up really high. I'm out of frame. I know I'm out of frame, but I'm kind of like down in my hands over this section of the paper. Like this, and I'm going to just spray, and see how it's given that very light mist coming out around here. I don't even know if you guys can see that on camera, but because I wet this paper first, it's not soaking into the paper. Instead it's just sitting on top. Then I'm going to take my peach, and my perfect peach, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, but it's a little bit lighter color, and it's going to kind of tone down that red that's in that peppermint and help it to kind of take on that more peachy pink color that's in the Almanac paper. Then really quickly, before it dries, I'm going to lay a paper towel down and blot it all up. Okay, now that's given me, see how it gave me that nice little soft misting, very soft and pale. The peppermint is bright red, so you want to be very careful with that. Now the bottom half of this layout we're going to mist after I've built my layers. Okay, but save this paper for your misting paper, because once you're done, what interesting doilies this will be when you cut, die cut this out. Look, you can see where my hand was. I've misted my hand. So hang on to this, because we're, like I said, we're going to use it again, but it'll make an interesting scrap one day too. But now look at my doily. See how beautiful my doily is? It's got this nice rich color to it, and it's going to fit there. But my problem is this one now needs to be that color too. So we are going to flip it around. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. I just don't know how deep it's going to come out at the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it again. So just to show, just as a review for you guys, because I really need to do this again. I need this doily to be that color. I'm going to cover up what I've already misted. I'm going to pull this down in here, because if I cover it up, it's no big deal. I'm going to hit it with the white, or with the water. I'm going to very lightly and hold it up high, because when you hold it up high, it's diffusing the color. If you hold it low, it's going to be very concentrated and very stark. If I hold it up high, it's going to diffuse a little bit. And you have this nice soft spray of color. Then I'm going to hit it with the peach, and that's just going to kind of tone it down a little bit. Okay? Then I'm going to take my paper towel and blot it up. And now I have my misting. I have a soft spray coming out this way and a soft spray coming out this way. And you're not going to see these doily impressions when we're done. The masks of the doily. So isn't that cool? And look at how fine that mist is. Isn't that cool? Yep. Hit with the water and then mist up high. And then now look at our doilies. They're a really soft peachy pink color. So I'm going to put all of this to the side and let it dry for just a minute. And I'm going to work on my tags and my seam binding. So in here I have a tag somewhere. Oh, in here. I want to use one of these. Now these canvas resists are really cool. And find my little poker tool. They have these pieces, these inserts. Most people would throw these little pieces away, but I don't. I put them back in the bag because you just never know. You're almost tempted, like these feel like they have adhesive on the back, but they don't. That's just something to help keep them a little sturdy so that they don't fall apart when they get wet. So don't try to peel the stuff off of them. Now on this one, I wanted it to have kind of a gold medallion look. So I have my Color Shine from Heidi Swapp, and you really want to shake it well because it's got mica in it. And just to keep my work surface from getting too messed up, I'm just going to do it on this paper towel. But I'm going to spray this, and this is going to be super shiny, so it's going to have that look of a gold medallion. And I'm going to just put that to the side and let it dry. Look at how gold that is. I love it. Okay, and then I have my tags. Where's my tags? I have some seam binding in here too somewhere. I pulled out some seam binding. Did I pull? Oh, here it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and color up our seam binding. And again, I'm just going to use the ink that's on here. If you wet your seam binding first, then it won't get too colored. I might be able to actually just take it and blot it in this paper towel because I want it to stay. I love that goldish brown color and that little bit of red that's in this, but it needs just a hint more peach, I think. So I'm going to hit it with the Perfect Peach, and then I'm going to hit it with this this Wheatfields just a little bit. And so now my seam binding is done. I'm going to just roll it up, put it to the side. If you crinkle it like this and put it to the side and let it air dry, it will have that nice crinkled look, that nice distressed crinkle look to it. And one more thing was a tag. I had a tag in here I wanted to do. Where did I throw my tag? Did you guys see the tag? Did I pull it out? It's in here, I promise. Oh, there it is. I found it. Okay, so here's my tag. And again, I want my tag to kind of blend into the background a little bit. I don't want a huge amount of color on it. This is very wet, so again, I'm just gonna kind of swipe it across there. Pick up whatever residual ink I have on the napkin. See how it's got that nice gold tone to it, but it's kind of a tone on tone. I don't even know if you guys can see it in there. But I'm also going to hit it one time with the peach. Again, I don't want it too dark, so I'm going to hit it with water first. I'm going to do the wheat fields because that's my brown taupey color. And then I'm going to hit it just a little bit with the peach. I would just want a hint of color. I don't want a lot of color. I'm going to blot that up. Love it. I'm going to let that just go ahead and puddle up and dry the way it is because I like that. And then we'll come back and distress it when it's dry. So I'm going to just put that to the side and let it dry. So I get all my wet stuff done first, and then that way everything has time to dry before I go messing with it. I don't have to run that heat gun. So the next thing I want to do is start building out my layers. I'm going to clean my work surface up really well. I don't want any of this ink anywhere on my pictures or anything like that. So I don't think I have too much on my desk, but you just never know. So now let's start talking about layers. To make your papers really interesting, what I like to do is when I go through my paper pads and pick out my papers, oh, I do, I stretch everything, honey. I could pinch the life out of a penny. But when I start going through my papers, I don't like them to stay plain when I'm building out a layered layout. Instead, I love for them to have a nice shape to them. So I usually use all my Spellbinders dies, that kind of thing, and I do these interesting cuts. Now, these negative pieces, hang on to those because this is a beautiful frame. It would make a wonderful frame. Same thing with these. We can use these to make flags or anything out of those, so hang on to those. The next thing we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and maybe cut out some of these. Like I used the remember in the last layout. I think for this one I'm going to use this one that says memories. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And normally, I'm so bad. Normally I have all the fussy cutting done ahead of time, but I've been like majorly busy lately and I haven't had time. So I'm going to just do it real quick. It won't take long. When you're fussy cutting, you want to keep your scissors straight and turn your paper. It will help you to cut a little more of a straight line. Now, it helps if you see straight. I firmly believe that I see crooked, which is probably why I distress every single edge, because that way I don't have to worry about whether or not it's perfect. And another tip for you guys who are new is if you're cutting out something and it's not such straight edges, just take whatever ink happens to be on your little applicator tool here and run it around the edge, and nobody will ever be wiser, because that little hint of darkness helps to make your imperfections go away. It's like a shadow. So there we go. We got that one all distressed up, and then the other one I wanted was, I'm just going to pull this out because I needed a couple of things on it. I want that keyboard. I just love these little pieces like this. I mean, honestly, I could sit and just continue to, even the layout that I'm calling done, and tuck little pieces here and there and never be finished with it, because to me, I absolutely love to layer. So we have the keyboard, but again, just like we did with everything else, it's a little too white, and I don't want my eye to go to that, so I'm just using the ink that's on my applicator tool here. I might need a little more of the antique linen, I think. And just, it doesn't have to be dark. I just want it to look a little dingy, because everything else on this layout is kind of cream based, and I don't want my eye to go to the stark white. And to show you that little bit, that's the contrast difference. I don't even know if you can see it in the light. Oh, I love the paper collections that you can cut out details from. I just absolutely love them. And we're going to use, I think we're going to use this damask. I just found out I've always said this as damask, but it's damask is the proper pronunciation. I'm from the South. We pronounce everything incorrectly, so. These are super cute. They would totally go in this. Totally, totally. And then in this side, we have some things I wanted to use. I want to use this little label right here, so we're going to go ahead and cut that out. I'm sorry guys, I should have had all this done pre-cut, but like I said, I've been a little bit busy lately. This gives me a chance to talk to you guys. So does anyone have any questions so far, or any comments? I find too, if I want to fussy cut something out of a big piece of paper, I just kind of cut roughly around it, and then it makes it so much easier to cut out. It also helps to have some really good sharp scissors. I love these little cutter bee scissors. Sometimes I use those what I call embroidery thread scissors. They're little teeny tiny blades. And you know, typically when I get a paper collection, I have found that I go ahead when I first get it, it'll have like 2 or 3 of the same patterns. The 6x6s typically are not double-sided printed, so that's cool because the back side's white. I can sit and these little things, when my husband wants to watch TV, I just pull out a TV tray and I sit there and I fussy cut out all of this kind of stuff. So it's done, and then I take the little baggie and I put it inside of the paper pad. So I always have it together. So that's my tip for you guys. And then that way the work's already done. And then if it's a pattern that has some neat things that could be fussy cut out of it, I just always make sure I get more than one copy of it so I can die cut all the little fun pieces out and have those, and I don't feel guilty about wasting the back side of the paper that I usually like the back side of the pattern anyway. I don't feel so bad about wasting it because I feel like you know, if I buy 2 of them, I have one for the front side and one for the back. So, and then like I said, I love doing it with these pieces like this too. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and use this one as well, and then this will be the end of the fussy cutting, I think, and we can start putting our layout together. So, what was you guys' favorite thing to come out of CHA? I think it's Marion's Bloom tool. I really think that's going to be like my favorite thing. That and the Spellbinders tool that scrapes all of those little pieces out of your dies. Have you guys seen that? The all-in-one tool? I love to make flowers. I love it. And I think Marion's Bloom tool is going to make that just super simple. Hi, Shabby. Okay, so I think that's all my fussy cutting, and then all I do is I slip these little pieces back in here and store them back in so they don't, you know, get away from me with this. They stay with the paper pack. Alright, then the next thing I need to do is I'm going to start building out my layout. I think I probably need to go ahead and draw some of these little pieces really quick. I see some new people have just logged in. Welcome, welcome to Tanya's Crazy Layout Night. Suzanne couldn't be with us tonight with Flamingo Scraps. She's not feeling well, so Peggy's our moderator tonight. If you have any questions, ask Peggy, and she'll try and get my attention. She's got my phone number. She can call me if I get out of sync here. Okay, so on my tag, I am going to take my archival ink, and I got another little tip for you guys. I'm going to ink this up. This stamp is made by who makes it? Stamp Abilities. It's old. I've had it for ages. The copyright on it is 2007. That tells you how old it is. I've had it forever. But one thing I want to do is I love to use tags all the time. I mean, I'm always using them. But this particular paper has a script that we've selected, has a script in it. So I kind of wanted to keep with that script feel, and I wanted this tag to kind of look like it went with this paper. And I also wanted my seam binding to have kind of the same effect. So I'm going to stretch it out, and it's not going to stamp on all of it. I realize that. I am going to try and stamp it all at one time, but I want to make sure my tag is going in the right orientation with my stamp script. And I'm going to press it down, and then I'm going to lift this up and do it again. And I'm using archival ink, so I don't have to worry about future messing it up. But now look, my seam binding has this nice script on it. And it's such a little detail that you may or may not see in photographs, but when you hold it in your hand, you see that little detail, and it makes a big difference. Like I said, I love it when people look at my layouts and say, every time I see it, I see something different that I didn't see before, because that makes them come back and want to look at it again. Same thing with this guy. I'm just taking the ink that's left over on here from where I've stamped it once before, and I don't care how imperfect it is. I kind of want it to be a little imperfect, and I'm stamping that on there too, and that's just going to give just a little more texture to this little guy. And again, it's little subtleties. Okay, a question is, which company's cardstocks are best for die cutting? I don't know that there's a best or a not best. This is what I do. For the wafer thin dies, I find that as long as it's towards the thinner side of cardstock, you usually do pretty well. Sometimes if it's too thin of a paper, like whenever I'm die cutting the doily, I'll show you in a little bit, this paper is super thin and it rips in it all the time. I personally don't have a preference because I'm using Basil, I'm using Recollections, I'm using We Are Memory Keepers. I just have cardstock. So I would say now my Cricut is super picky. The cheaper the paper, the better it cuts. But I'm finding that in my silhouette, the smooth texture works well. Even the textured cardstock works well. It just, you have to play with the blade. So it really, to be honest with you, I use anything. I don't, most of the stuff that I cut is scraps, and I'm not sure if you were logged in when I showed this, but if you look at this was a scrap piece of paper I die cut. Obviously there wasn't enough scrap to cut the whole die out, or it was not perfect in some cases. Like this die cut, let me find it. What did I do with it? Right here, this die cut didn't cut out perfect, and this right here didn't cut out at all. This was a wafer thin die, and for some reason this paper is just a little too thick. I don't know who makes it, because it's actually a piece of scrapbook paper that was a piece of scrap, and as you can see, in some spots it just didn't cut out. Nothing I could do could make it cut out. But I hang on to these because I still use them. If you're gonna layer like we're doing tonight, none of this matters. You just, you know, and to me, when you do something where you've ripped the edges of the paper, the more distressed your die cuts look and the more irregular and messed up they look, they kind of look like they go with everything better. If everything's clean cut and, oh, this is a perfect square and this is a perfect circle, then it's perfectly boring. Does that make sense? Sometimes you can use a shim. Pay attention to your die cuts recommendations. I know some of the wafer dies come with metal shims that you can use. Sometimes just a post-it note's enough of a shim to get it to cut. I have noticed too that the more I have used my cutting plate, the more shallow it is, so it's not hitting right. So it could be that you just need a new cutting plate, because they do wear out. You know, these dies chip away the surface, so they do wear out. So did that answer your question? I can tell you this black cardstock that I'm using right now is Recollections cardstock. It's just the 60-pound 3 for $10 cardstock. So alright, so back to this tag. It's now dry a little bit, and I've got this. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. I want to ink up the edges just a little bit. So I'm going to take my antique linen and just kind of come in and give it a little bit of dimension around the edges. It's not a lot of color, probably not enough for you guys to really see on camera. And I'm also going to just kind of rough it up a little bit with my distress tool. I think the thing with girly grunge is grunge. Everything needs to be grunged. Okay? And just like I did before, I'm going to kind of color it from the back side as well as the front side. Hi, Lena. That was the cutest picture of Joe I saw the other day. It was so cute. Oh my goodness, he's adorable. Her little boy is adorable. Okay. So now let's go to assembling our layout. I'm going to start. I always try to think of things from the bottom up. So here's my layout, and it's not quite, it's dry, but it's not quite dry enough yet. If your paper is buckling, it's because paper has starches in it, and when you wet it, it buckles. There's just no two ways about it. But again, that kind of adds to the grunge look. And one thing I heard Diane Reveley say, which I thought was genius, is that paper is like a sponge, and it starts to absorb the water. It's gonna buckle. It's wrinkling because the back side is parched. The back side wants some liquid too. So if you heat it from the back, just like you do when you're ironing your shirt, if you heat it from the back and you press it really hard with your hand while you're heating it, it will take and iron some of those buckles out. And I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but my paper is not completely straight, but it is a lot smoother than it was. So now let's start assembling our layout. I'm going to go ahead and try and do the top piece first. So I've got my music notes, my hymnal pages, and I'm just going to rip some of this off because it's going to be one of my first layers. And hang on to these pieces because you never know when you might need them. I would love to be able to take a Bible and put it on my scrapbook pages guilt-free, but I have a problem ripping the pages out of a Bible. I just think that that's just a bad thing to do. So I can't do it. Others might be able to, but I can't do it. So I like hymnal pages because they do reference scripture a lot, and it allows me to put those things into my layouts because it's a huge part of who I am and who my family is. So I don't have a problem ripping up a hymnal book. So usually if you see music on my layouts, it came from a hymnal. So all I did is just hit that with a little bit of the ink just on the edge so it's nice and it looks aged. And I'm going to tuck that down inside this hole right here. And roll it up. And I may have to pull this back just a little bit more. And I'm going to just take a little bit of hot glue and stick it right there. So I can pull that in. And it's kind of playing peekaboo a little bit. I didn't glue it completely to it. because I do want it to have its own layer. I want it to be its own defining layer. Oh, I could copy some pages, but I still have a problem ripping up the Word of God. I just have a problem with it. I'll be honest with you, I had a problem ripping books up until Suzanne liberated me. So I was at her house one day and I about died, and she took a book and ripped half the signatures out of it and handed it to me and said, now go use them. So she kind of liberated me that way. But I don't know, I can't do it. As much as I would love to use them, I have retyped them and used them that way, but I don't know. It's just me, I'm sure. But you're right, copying it would be a lot better. I hadn't thought of that. I could scan them. And there are places online like Bible Gateway that you could go and copy the text right out and use it. Now, that doily that I told you was a little imperfect, I'm just going to take and rip off some of those little doily pieces like this. And now it looks like lace. So we're going to tuck that in too, and that's going to give that another layer. Just going to put that right in there on that side. Let it play peekaboo out the top a little bit. And like I said, don't care that it wasn't perfect, because I don't really want it perfect. I've ripped it up. I'm going to let this do the same thing. Okay. And for the final touch, I have one of these rosebuds here. And this is a Prima flower, but I'm sure you guys, if you look in your stash, you have rosebuds in your stash, and you don't even have to add this layer if you don't have any of these. But if you are real careful, they have glue on them that hold them together to make them rosebuds. And you can hit them with water and that would take it out, but I don't want the water because I don't want to have to wait for it to dry. But if you just wiggle it a little bit, and it's okay if it tears a little because we're going to cut it in half anyway. Show you guys how to take these roses and have them like little petals poking out. It just kind of adds a little softness. And I'm going to pull this guy out, toss him to the side, and I'm going to pull this piece right here, the green piece, because I don't really want to see it either. I'm going to pull it off completely. What looks stiff? Donna, what looks stiff? It was a die. It was cardstock. The doily was a cardstock. I die cutted it with that. It was a die from Do Crafts. It's a doily die. Suzanne had them in the store last year, I think. We had them for a Ustream I think it was last February. We had February or March. We had them for a Ustream kit. Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit. I just cut that in half, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue, and I'm going to tuck it in right here. And see how it kind of puts those little petals up here at the top. Just love it, love it, love it. And then I'm going to put this one on this side. And I'm going to spread it out just a little bit because I don't have a whole lot for this side of flower. And I'm just going to tuck it in over here. So that's kind of poking out over here on this side. I'll pull that bottom layer off of there. Kind of keep them a little even if you can. You know, it might take some fiddling to get them that way. Put that over there. Try not to hot glue your finger together because that's painful. You can use wet glue for this too. I just don't want to wait for it to dry. So anyway, there's my little clusters up here at the top. And when I get it glued down to the chipboard, it'll be a little more obvious what's going on up here. It won't look so crowded. But look at how delicate that looks. Isn't that cool? Very shabby. Very, very shabby. So I'm going to just trim this off so it kind of comes around. I don't really want to see those edges that I tore too much right there. Okay, so now down here to this end. I want these doilies to be kind of close to the bottom. They're going to be my base. So I had 2 of them. What did I do with the other one? And when I glue these down, I am only gluing a very small amount right here at the very tip. Okay, I want to have access to underneath here throughout the whole night. I don't want to have to worry about did I put too much glue down. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing, just a teeny tiny bit of glue, and this is my Tombow mono adhesive that has seen better days, and I'm overlapping this just a little bit because it's going to kind of be the base for my banner. Okay, then I'm going to take my heart doilies that we cut out from the Do Craft die. I have 2 of them, and those are going to be my topper. And again, I'm trying to stay, I'm going to overlap them a little bit, and I'm trying to stay more towards the center and the bottom 2/3 of the layout. And I may have to come this way. And again, I'm only going to put a little dot of glue in the center. By the time you get all these layers down, there's going to be so much glue on here that nothing's going anywhere. But I only want glue in the very center. Okay? And I'm going to kind of get them off kilter a little bit. I don't want them straight up and down. I kind of want them to the sides like that. So I'm going to put a little bit here. I find that layers look better if your bulkier elements are towards the bottom. So I start at the bottom and work my way up. Okay. Then I'm going to take that. This is a doily that I did with that music paper, and see how it's all chopped up and it's real delicate, so it's like breaking. I'm going to take pieces of this and just kind of break it off, and it has like this lacy look to it to me. And again, I'm only putting glue towards the bottom. I don't want it all over the place. And I'm going to just tuck it in right here. Just around that heart. And to make sure I keep it symmetrical, because I like symmetry. If you don't like symmetry, fine. You can do what you want to. But I'm going to work from the left to the right to the left to the right. Okay? Then if I happen to have enough left over here, which I do, I'm going to tuck some in up here towards the top. And I'm going to take my fingers and kind of encourage this to tear more and to distress and crinkle up even more than it is. Now, like I said, in a little bit, when I'm all done, I can come back and add a little bit more glue if I think I need it, but I think you'll find that you'll have just plenty. Next thing is, I always like to start with my bulkiest elements down first and then build up from there. So the next thing I have is my tag. And I'm going to go ahead and slip my ribbon through there. I tied it in a knot on the other layout, but I think I like it better slipped through like this. Better. And I don't need to waste all of that. I can use some of this on another project, so I'm going to pull this tail down till I get it to where I want it, and then I'm going to take this other tail and cinch it up. And then that way I'm not really wasting any of it. Cut that off. And again, I'm going to encourage this to really crinkle up. Okay, the purpose of this is to hide this seam right here. So I want to make sure I come out just enough right there, and I'm going to just put a little spot of glue. Again, if you just use a little bit of glue, if you have to rip it up, you're not tearing everything up. Okay, then we're going to take, actually I think that's a little too far, it's a little too deep. I'm going to go about right there. I don't want it to go all the way to the edge. Okay, the next thing is I have these little doilies, and where this is, I want to kind of camouflage that a little bit, and if I turn this kind of off skew a little bit, it helps to bring that curve on around on this side. So I'm going to put just a little spot of glue at the bottom of it, and where this is cut off here and here, I'm going to tuck it under my tag just like that, so you're not really going to see it. Isn't that cool? Okay, so the next thing I have is my little piano key. I could not think of that. I wanted to call it a typewriter key. And I'm going to place it kind of right here. Just like that. Now see how everything's starting to kind of come together? I think I wanted it a little under that one. Everything's just kind of coming together. Okay. And pull these up. I might have these a little too deep. Not deep enough. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is I want to get my picture out, because I'm afraid that if I don't start using my picture, I'm going to not put it down right. So my picture is currently 4 inches by 3 inches. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that out. I print these at home myself. I have an HP 8600 printer that I dearly love, and I do not have a cutter over here. Hold on just a second, I'll be right back. I'm going to cut this down on my trimmer over here. I'm going to just, and I want to make sure I get all of that white space off of there. Actually, my picture is a little smaller than I thought. It's this one for some reason printed out a little bit smaller. It's 3 inches by 2 3/4 inches. So it's a little bit smaller than I originally thought I would do. And I want to make my background look like a Polaroid. And I already have all this stuff cut up somewhere in this box. Oh goodness. And when I originally cut this out, on my original layout I did a Polaroid, and then I got to thinking about it and I was like, well, that's silly, because the hole I ended up covering up anyway, and it made it look like a Polaroid. So this was the trick. This is how I did it. I just cut a rectangle, and this one is, and I may have to trim it down a little bit more, but this one is see, I didn't go deep enough with this, so let me pull that up really fast. Pull this down just a little bit. This has to come up just a little bit more. This Polaroid is, I lost my ruler here. What's it cut? 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. So what I did to make it fake it look like a Polaroid was I cut this out, and when I placed it on top here, it kind of has that look of a Polaroid without it being cut out with the hole. You see what I'm saying? And then this is going to be here, and it's going to give you that next layer down, which is going to give you that look that you're after. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue all these down, and I'm going to make sure I secure this one really well. So I'm going to center this here. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. And you can easily do these with your Spellbinders dies. But look at how now it looks like a Polaroid, but I didn't have to cut that hole out. Okay, so now I need to find my placement for my photo. I'm not ready to glue it down or commit to it yet. I still have some more layering I want to build out first. I have another one of these doilies, and like I said, if I do it to one side, I like to do it to the other side, but I think it's going to stick out way out here and kind of close that gap up, but I'm not going to glue it yet. And then I also have, this is also from the paper collection, and it has, I just used a Spellbinders die, labels die to cut that out, and I want to take my antique linen and grunge up the edge like I did everything else. And it's going to tuck in here, but there's some script on this side, and this side's kind of plain. So what I want to do is tuck it in like right there, but I want to see it coming out the top as well as the bottom. Right there, like that. Okay? But I'm going to hold on. I'm not going to glue that down just yet because there's some other stuff I want to do, I think, and I want to make sure I get it right. Then the next thing I want to do is I have these flowers from Prima, and I know that it's going to go down here, but I felt like these were just a little too thick. It was just a little too big, so I broke off the back leaf petal thing, and that was going to sit right down in there, right at the cusp of those two little doilies. And then this I'm going to take and cut those two petals off, and then cut that third petal off, and then they are going to go, one of them's going to go right here and kind of camouflage out the rest of that. You see what I'm doing? I'm trying to hide holes. I'm trying to mask out some of the holes, like the transitions, so that everything kind of flows in a pattern. And then over here, this one's going to get tucked in over here somewhere. And then the next thing I want to do is I had my, where did it go? I pulled out this this banner, and I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to take it, and it has a rose pattern. I'm checking it to see if there's any text, because if there is, you don't want to you don't want to cover up the text. And see, this is why you don't glue anything down, because you want to make sure everything's lined up just right before you start gluing, because if you have to adjust anything, you can. So I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to take this guy, and it's going to, this one is a little bigger than the one I used before, so I may not end up using it, or I might put it like right up in here somewhere. It's really the color I'm after to kind of close in those gaps a little bit. And then where's my today? This guy right here. This, okay, this label says today was beautiful with you. So where the today was, I want to cut this, because there's no point in me tucking that in. If I tuck it in, I'm going to lose all of this gorgeousness on this side. So just right where the word today starts, give yourself enough room to tuck. I'm going to glue that like right there. So I definitely want to keep that, so I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on it and stick it right there. Okay, and then as if this were coming out clearly out the other side, I'm going to glue it there. Now at this point I'm kind of happy with everything, so I'm going to go ahead and start thinking about gluing some things down. I'm going to hold off on gluing these two pieces down because I don't need to yet, but I do want to go ahead and glue this down. And again, only a small bit right there. And I'm going to kind of tuck it in. I want to see this flower that's up here at the top. Not too crazy about this one yet. I really think that this is in the right spot, which I have it glued, and I'm gonna go ahead and glue this guy down. Again, only gluing the edge because I want things to lift. Make sure I got everything in the right spot. Maybe right in there. Just like that. Now I know that I want this to stay, so I'm going to put a little glue on both sides of this flower, and it's going to get tucked in right here, and that's going to kind of help to elevate this a little bit and cast a shadow back up in here. I think I already glued this down. Yes, I did. Okay, now I've come to the point where I think I might want to do a pop dots on my picture. So I'm going to grab those out, and I want to stay to the center because I might want to tuck some things in around. Not decided yet if I want to commit to the edge. I can always come back and tuck one of those in at the edge. I think I might want to pull it down just a little bit. And I'm not pressing it really hard yet. I'm just kind of laying it down. So if I have to pull it up, I can. I don't have to worry about... Now, I still have some of this sticking out here, and I definitely want to cover that up because it's not attractive. So I'm going to tuck this in, but I don't want it to stick out too far. And here we come back to this little piece. Again, it's going to come straight across to here. Right there. Stick straight across just like that. So now see how it's kind of continued. It's continued that all the way across, so it kind of gives the feeling that this is longer than it really is. And then I have also got this little memories tag, and because I did not glue this down yet, I can decide, do I want to, I think I'm going to tuck it like right here. Just like that. Yep. Okay, so then what do we want to do? I think I want this guy to be down in here, and I want it kind of close to the bottom. So I'm going to put, remember that these feel like they have adhesive on the back, but they really don't. And I'm just going to touch a little bit of that mono just at the top parts because I do want it to adhere to that top of that Polaroid and kind of fill in that gap a little bit there. And I want it to extend down into this negative space down here because then that gives me a place, a platform to kind of rest my flower. So that's going to go there. Just like that. Now I still have this flower piece that I may or may not end up using over here. In fact, it might be good to tuck it there. I don't know yet. Or originally this was a different tag, so it was tucked in underneath that, so it might not work there. I may end up putting it up here somewhere. So for now I'm just going to leave it there. And now I am faced with this dead space right here, which I'm like looking at it going, ugh, I don't really like that. I don't know what to do there. So my solution to that was to go back through my papers and see if there was any scraps that I could help to pull in, maybe some banners or flags or something like that. And I have a lot of this paper, and that would be my first go-to. But because it's the same paper that's the back of my Polaroid, I've decided that that's not going to work. Those can go on another layout. I also have these little pieces. Where are they? Hang on. I have these little pieces, but they're so close to this color that that's not going to be enough of a contrast. And I'm just kind of walking you guys through this because I want you to see what my thought process is when I do this. Oh my goodness, y'all, you got to get out of that "you're never going to come up gluer" kind of thing. because you can always go back and put the glue down, but you can't take it up. That's the only problem. And when you're doing layers like this, you have to do little spots of glue, because if you don't have anything. You can't tuck. Now, I ended up, I'd already cut this out, which is the damask, I don't know how to say it. I'm a hick. So I think what I'm going to do is just use it, because it's just a little scrap, and I don't like having scraps laying around. They just drive me bonkers. And all I'm going to do is cut a little bitty flag, and I'm freehanding it. I don't care if it's perfect. I'm going to follow with just hitting it with the edge of my ink pad, just in case that core, because the back side's white and I don't want that to show. And I'm going to start out with maybe doing one that's kind of in a little bit on this side. So instead of wasting all of that, I'm going to just go ahead and cut this one in half, because I can use it again on this other side over here. I'm going to put a little bit of glue and stick it right there. And notice I'm only gluing on the tip, because I want these to kind of stick up a little bit. And a trick to that would be to put a little piece of pop dot underneath there, and that would keep that up, but don't remove the adhesive. See, I'll show you guys what I mean. So this pop dot has no adhesive on the back, but it has adhesive on the top. So what I would do is put that adhesive, or actually cut it in half, because I don't need but half of it. I just need a little tiny bit, and what that will do is keep it from flattening down whenever I put it in my book. It'll keep it elevated. And see, there's no glue on the back. The back I left unglued so that it lifts. Okay, and let's do that with this. Now on this side I don't have as much real estate, so actually that might be a little too little to use. Let's do another one. Just worry about the one side for now. And again, cutting out the little flag shape. And I'm going to have this come up here really tall. I want this one to stick out further than that other one. So I'm putting a little glue there. I'm going to take my little piece of pop dot, which you don't even really need, to be honest with you, but it does help if you're going to put it into a page protector to keep it from, it does help to keep it from getting flattened down. But see how it stays elevated because it's not glued. There's no glue where that's still up. You can still bend it and give it some shape, but the pop dot helps keep it from falling down. I hope that makes sense. Oh my goodness, I started out wanting to use rondelle, but I didn't have enough of it. I really did. That was my goal, because I love rondelle with those birds. Ugh. And that peach and the black. Peach and black are kind of too, I'm not a huge fan of pink, but I love peach and black. And then this one I'm going to stick out just a little further. Where do those pop dots go? Bit of glue and tuck it right here. See, if you had glued till it was stuck for life, you wouldn't be able to lift that up and put that down. And notice how my flags have different start and stop spots. They're not all the same length, because I think that gives a little bit of interest too. Now on this other side, I definitely want to do at least 2 of these over here. So I'm just going to take what's left and cut it in half and make it work. Just make it work. Put a little bit of glue, and I never did glue this flower down, but I think that's where I want it to live. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to that. Does anybody else in here have commitment issues like I do? And one thing I want you to notice is every element that's layered on here is touching another element. That helps it to all kind of come together as one cohesive piece. Okay? So like in here, I'll put that flag there, and I might put the next one here. Where did it go? Right row. Here. Oh, there it is. Come back, little one. No escaping. And see how just the tiniest little element, the tiniest little element helps to make all of this kind of come together. And I'm taking these ends and I'm just kind of encouraging them to bend a little bit, hit them with that little antique linen just a little so that they have a little color to them. It doesn't have to be a lot, but that little bit of detail goes a long way. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, we're almost done here. The very next thing I want to do is my banner across the bottom. Now, the banner was a piece of scrap that I had in my stash, and when I say scrap, means I created it for another project and ended up not using it. So I die cut it and use it anyway. And what it is it's this tape from Scotch. This is some of their new washi tape. Oh yeah, I love to see the layers. What's the point in putting them down if you're not going to be able to see them? So I did mess up and put this a little bit too deep right here and here. So in order to make it look right, I think what I might want to do actually is come on back in here, take another doily, cut it in half. Actually, I should probably missed it before I cut it in half. And this is one of those moments, you know, where you just go, hey, I don't like that that ends right there. I want it to kind of come out just a little bit more down here at the bottom. And if you really want, you know, I'm gonna spray these, but if you really want to add the black, because you got all this black up here, maybe we could even pull the black down here by taking one of these doilies and tucking it in. I think I actually might like that better. What do you guys think? Do I spray the other doily and keep it pink, or put the black down there? Which one? Or leave well enough alone? What do you guys think? Speak now or forever hold your peace. It's not. I think it's too much black though. Do you guys think it's too much black? Let me pull these out and put these back in here. If these were pink or even tan, what if I went tan? Okay, I got 3 votes for the black. Are we leaving it black? Maybe just do one. One pink. Like that? Okay. Let's mist it so it's the same color. Pull my thing out. You know what I could do too is I could do it with music paper. but I'd have to go die cut it, so you guys would have to wait for me to die cut it. So let's do this. We're going to hold this. Remember, we mixed it with water first. This is a review for those of you who showed up late. We mixed it with water first, hold up high, and mixed with the pink, which this is the peppermint stick, and then we're going to come back and mist it with the peach. Then we're going to take our paper, pick it all up. Right? Now we have the perfect soft little doily. One black. Well, let's see what it looks like pink, because that was white before. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, you know what I do have too, is I have this other half of this journal piece. We could use it too. But I think I do like the pink, guys. I think the black is too much black. Remember, I have these banners I wanted to stick across there too. And they're black. What you guys think? Let's put the banner. Okay, let's don't glue anything yet. See, this is what I do. This is how my brain goes. Okay. So I wanted these banners to just kind of be haphazardly scattered across the bottom here. And see, that's going to bring your black element back down into the bottom. Leave the pink, see? It does kind of seem a little off balance, but remember, I've got some other black elements to add to it too. Let me see. Let's just, this is why, okay, when I get like that, when I get feeling like it's a little off balance, that's when I say, okay, wait, let's not glue anything down, let's just take a look, and then we'll decide. Whoops. I think maybe what it is this is sticking out too far. Maybe if it comes in a little bit. Is that better? Those aren't glued down, so they're going to slide a little bit. Is that better? Touch of the black somewhere. Okay. How about that? Yes, no? Or just go with the one. I don't like just the one. I think it needs to have at least two. Maybe right there. That's it? Okay, success. We're gluing. I can't see because of the angle I'm sitting at. I hope I got that straight. And then I'm just going to take these and glue them down My original one had a ribbon there, but I think I'm going to forego the ribbon because I've added so much down here at the bottom. I just think that they look good just hanging. But I think I want to switch these so that the small ones here and the longer ones there. And like I said, these are just tape on cardstock, white cardstock, and this is that Georgia Pacific 110-pound cardstock. Okay, and then I like to hang my layouts up on the wall, so I'm going to mount this one onto black chipboard. But before I do that, I have some of these. These are the little hearts that were cut out of the doilies. I kept them, and I'm just going to hold my hand up and let them fall. And where they fall, I don't want them to overlap too much, but where they fall and how they fall is random, and random is what I want. I want them just going willy-nilly. I don't want them in any shape. You know, I don't want them all going in the same direction. I kind of want them like they're falling. So I have some more up here. Oh, that's trash. Some of the trash got caught up in here. And I may switch out some of these bigger ones. But I know I do definitely want them coming in at an angle. So maybe one more small one down here, like that. And these are kind of like, these are like, this is what I would call my sequin confetti. So I hang on to these because they're fun. And they draw your eye diagonally from the top to the bottom and across the picture. And that's why I added them. So all I'm going to do is just take my adhesive and just pick them up, put them down. I don't want to spend a lot of time fussing over it. I want them to stay kind of turned at different angles. I want different sizes. These itty bitty ones I'm getting rid of because they're just too small. You can't hardly glue them. But don't you like how they look like they're just free falling? We're almost done. This little guy is being a pain. He wants to be on here so bad. So we're going to cut him into a banner. Maybe stick him where... Maybe right there. I don't know. Okay, so all of those are glued down. Nope, that one's not. Glue that one down really fast. That one's not. That one is, that one is. Okay, and then while I'm going to go ahead and take my Wink of Stella pen and I'm going to paint over the hearts, and that's just going to make them a little shiny. And again, it's a subtle detail you probably can't see in video, but makes a huge difference on this layout when you see it in person. I don't know if you guys can see it sparkle or not. Can you see it? Twinkle, twinkle. Okay, so let's glue these down. Yes, I licked my finger and used it to pick up these little pieces. I could use my pickup stick thing, but that would require me to get it out. Sometimes you just need a little lick. Well, that one doesn't want to stay down. There we go. Then we're going to just take my Wink of Stella pen, color those. Little tiny detail goes a long way. Now to hang this on my wall, if you take a I hang these up around my house, but if you take a piece of chipboard, and I'm going to use black. I thought about this last night, since it's going to hang on my wall. Thought about mounting it a little crooked. What do you guys think? Let me pull it down. Let me pull it where it's in frame. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it totally in frame, but I thought about mounting this just a little bit crooked. What do you guys think? Let me see, where's my... And to mount it, all I do is take some score tape and I don't go all the way to the edge because I like my edges curling up, and when the humidity here in Florida hits it, it's going to curl even more. But I'm really fond of that look. That one got a little too close to the edge up here. But to hang it on my wall, I just take the pop top off of a soft drink can and glue it to the back of my chipboard. I don't happen to have one in here right now, but I just glue it to the back of my chipboard and it will hold it on my wall. And you can hang these up with a straight pin so it doesn't mess up your drywall, and you don't have to worry about when you move them around. If you pull the straight pin out and move it, the straight pin doesn't leave a big hole in your wall like a nail would. FYI. And there you go. We're done. And as far as this peekaboo piece right here goes, that's where that little piece of black, where is it? Or maybe even this. Let me see. What about that? And if I don't glue that, that can be a hidden journal piece. And then as far as this goes, I really want to see that lay down. So I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue right there. Curl this one down. Like that. Then I want this one to kind of curl behind it. And then that sticks up. It's kind of like a collar. Does that make sense to you guys? And normally all my layouts include a piece of metal somewhere, and I kind of felt like this flower has these little rhinestones in the center of it, so that sort of represents my metal piece. Oh, I love that when I curl this down I can see the word Jesus. Aww. Okay, so there we go. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming out and joining me tonight and offering me inspiration and help. I think, where's that Wink of Stella? I think what I want to do too, y'all, I'm addicted to this Wink of Stella pen. It's like crack, I'm not kidding. And I'm covering over these little flowers because they're kind of dull. And it just gives a little touch of shimmer right there to your flowers. I mean, like, seriously, how awesome is it? Look at that little hint of sparkle. It's like diamond dust. And this flower's not wanting to stick too well, so I'm going to just put a little spot of hot glue. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And here's what it looks like up close. Aren't the little hearts fun? Does anybody have any questions?